Now that you've set up your map, you'll style the map layers. I'll start with Canada. I'll open the layer properties for Canada by double-clicking on it. I'll go to the Style tab, and I'll check the Simple Fill style. Here I have access to changing both the color of the fill and the border of the polygons. I'll click the patch to the right of Fill to open up the Select Color window. This gives me access to an array of predefined colors, a color slider for choosing colors, and values for hue saturation value and red, green, and blue. I'll enter 00225 in the hue saturation and values to choose a light gray color. I'll click OK and OK, and I've changed the color of the Canada polygon. To symbolize Mexico, I can use another trick. I'll right-click on Canada, choose Copy Style from the context menu. Then I'll right-click on Mexico and choose Paste Style, and that same style is copied to Mexico very easily. Next, I'll style the land ownership layer. Instead of making the entire layer one color as I've done for Canada and Mexico, I'll assign a unique color to each land managing agency. How do you know who is managing each parcel? This will be information contained in the attribute table. I'll right-click on the federal land ownership layer, open the attribute table, and examine the available attributes. I'll notice that the column AGBR contains the values for individual land managing agencies. So that'll be the field I use to symbolize this layer. I'll close the table. And now I'll open the layer properties for federal land ownership. So far, we've used a single symbol renderer for the data layers we've styled. Here, we'll switch to a categorized renderer. Next, it'll ask me for the attribute column I want to use. I'll choose AGBR, and finally I'll click Classify. QGIS finds each unique value in the AGBR field and gives each a unique random symbol. Notice that there's a symbol with no value at the top of the list. These are null values in the AGBR field, and they represent private and state inholdings within federal lands. Since I'm just interested in depicting federal land ownership, I'll delete that symbol class simply by selecting it and clicking the delete button below. Now those parcels will not be included on the map. So now I can begin styling the remaining classes, and I'll start with BLM lands. I'll be using the BLM color manual. I'll double-click on the color patch for BLM lands to open the symbol selector, and click on the Simple Fill style. I don't want any border lines on these polygons because with such a complicated thematic polygon layer, they're too visually distracting. So I'll choose a border style of no pen. Then I'll click on the Fill Color patch to open the Select Color window, and I'll enter the RGB value for BLM lands. 254. I can tab to the next field, 230, hit tab, 121, click OK, and OK. I'll move on to BOR lands. I'll double click on the patch and I'll work through the same workflow. I'll click on the Simple Fill style. I'll choose a border style of no pen, click on the Fill patch, and enter the RGB value for BOR lands, 255, 0, 0. Click OK and OK, and I'll continue styling the remaining layers. When I'm finished with them all, I'll click OK on the layer properties to save the land ownership styling. Now I'll set a background color for the map to represent the Pacific Ocean. This will be done from the Project Properties menu. I'll go to the General tab, and there's the background color for the map. I'll click the color patch, and I'll enter the RGB value for a light blue, which will be 225, 255, 255. I'll click OK and OK. And now my map has a light blue that will represent the Pacific Ocean. The states are white with a black border and serve to show non-federal land as white, which is great. However, the state boundaries are obscured since state boundaries are below the federal land ownership layer. So I will add another version of the states layer to my map. I will drag this layer to the top of the map, I'll go into its layer properties, click the simple fill style. I'll give it a fill style of no brush, and then click OK. And now I have a second layer of states that allows me to see the state boundaries on top of the land ownership and sage-grouse habitat layers. The last layer to work with is the sage-grouse habitat. I'll give the sage-grouse habitat polygons a crosshatch pattern. This will allow the map reader to see the land ownership data beneath. I'll open the layer properties for sage-grouse, click the simple fill style. I'll change the fill color to an RGB color of 170, 0, 255, and click OK. I'll change the border color to 142, 0, 213. And here I'll change the fill style to FD diagonal, which will give it a crosshatch pattern. And I'll give it a slightly thicker border width. Click OK. And now I can see all the data on the same map. It's ready for final map production. In the final task, you'll learn how to use the print composer to craft a well-designed map.